Oh, there's a microphone. Or right there on the thing. Sure.
There you go.
If you-
You can hear me, okay? Maybe not all of them.
Hello. My name is Julie Bruns, and I have been helping Dominique with IFS. And I am going to talk about the IFS update that I believe just about everybody has gotten. I think there's 2 left. You did get notified, and you also did get the whatever was updated in IFS and in cash drawer. One of the things that got updated was the e-port, and that's for people that use SSIS, you'll get a payment confirmation. Also, if anybody's a fiscal agent, they'll be able to change the warrant form and add that fiscal payment into your warrant form. And that you can change in the warrant form file and add the bank and your overriding details in there. The other update was to upload the state payment. You can see, I just didn't put a screenshot, but it'll show up when it comes over to IFS, it'll be in the payee name. There's a 3-digit code for those state payments. The other one update was the filter, the MA transaction. I put a screenshot up where you can add
Thanks.
the fields to sort your MA transactions. You can add in different fund departments for those, the download. Other one was the MBC batches. It'll give you a warrant or a warning if the date is different on in your batch.
You want to update your slides? I don't know who's in charge of the slides.
Yes, I am, sorry.
Okay.
We're struggling on sharing the screen right now. First. Yes, should be sharing now. Okay, good. Sorry. There it goes. Sorry about that. Oh. You went fast. Oh, you did this one too?
No, I'm on this one. This one will give you an error if you're doing an MVC and you have a bunch of lines on it and you don't change the date, forget to change the date. I was copying and doing the MVC over and then you miss a date from 3 months ago. So that'll give you a warning when you process during the warrant register and the warrant for publication. The other update is the user maintenance report. So if you go in and change anybody's permissions, add anybody's permissions, you can run the report on the bottom for the users. And you can run that. A lot of people need that for their auditors. What was added, what got changed, whatnot. So that's a good report for you to have. The other update, I think it was because of the update that if you use the ASC, the fields weren't being pulled into the receipt reports. So we got that fixed and it was applied to the counties that use the ASC fields. And does anybody have any comments or questions on the new update? Good, that's what I'm. Now we get to talk about 1099s. We looked and we checked and IRS, they said there's no changes this year, so hopefully they keep it that way.
They're talking about 1099.
The requirements if you're applying electronically.
That's for the 60 days is up and then you're finding. Oh, no, I won't do that, but my car is broke down too. I'm just like. "Look."
Just a reminder that your identity protection pin on the IRS website is only valid for 1 year, so you'll need to get that updated. The W-9 form was updated in 2024. If you didn't know that, you can change it or send those out next year. And the 1099 NECs, the only forms due to the IRS and the recipients on the same date, which is January 31st, 2025. On when you're approving your 1099s, one of the options is to run your vendor file by social security number or federal tax ID. I ran this report and it was huge. So I don't know if it's a really great way. I found it on the Toronto website to do that. It's you can see if you need social security numbers or federal ID number is needed. You can review the vendors that are listed for 1099s and you can select that option on the print screen for the vendor file. And it's a good time to review for addresses and spelling corrections. And then in the 1099 section, there's the paid invoice by vendor report. You can run that a million times, a million different ways. It's the best way to catch everything. And this way you can make sure all the vendors are there. You can make sure if they're 1099 for some reason, some invoice didn't get changed to 1099, it'll catch that and it'll show that on there. I have a screenshot of the report on the next one. Also check for vendors that shouldn't be 1099s. It's also a good place to catch. And then if you do need to make changes, you can go into the vendor file and change them. They need to be 1099s, or go to the disbursement inquiry and change that invoice to a yes, that they need a 1099. Try to do this too before creating and building your 1099s. So that's done. And pain in the butt.
The invoice, the paid by vendor, if you put the cutoff in. You.
Oh, yeah, if you put the
can't run it-
600.
You can't run it in Excel.
Yes, the cutoff does not apply to Excel, you have to reapply it yourself in the Excel, that has not been fixed.
Yeah.
So, yes,
Okay.
good catch.
Good thing to do is always clear your 1099s before you start, just in case. I know some of you might do this when you're all done with your 1099s. But do that too before you start, so it doesn't accidentally grab something for last year. Then you'll build your 1099s. You're gonna have to do this for all of your 1099 types. Make sure you get that new TCC code. This is where you'll have to update it. You'll have to update any of your information on there. If you're new, you might want to put your name on it. You got a new auditor. It's a good time to change that right here before you start going. Once you put in all that information and you build, you will get 3 reports in your inbox. I always have these. I don't know if everybody does, but it's a good proofing tool also. And so
I do it twice.
I think I have it in there twice. And then you will do, you'll print your 1099 information. You'll go to the little drop down menu and you can, there's lots. If you're still print, you'll want to print them from here, but this is your proof list. So you want to run that one more time to proof for any mistakes. If you do find any mistakes, you'll have to go back and you'll have to do the build process all over again. You won't be able to fix it and move on. You'll have to go back to do the build process again. And then you will create your 1099s. Sure you put in the right year. This part doesn't give you any reports. It's doing all that stuff behind the scenes. And then you print. This is when you will do it, or if you download to the IRS, which assuming most people do nowadays. You'll want to download all of your things, label them so you know what they are. Typically, they all say this, all the same thing, so make sure you label any CD as whatever they all are. Yes, and then you will go into the IRS website and download your 1099 to the IRS. Upload them, mail out your 1099s, cross your fingers and hope everything went really well. You don't need any correction. Does anybody have questions or comments or tips on their 1099s?
And if you don't know your login, we will still submit your 1099 for you. So if you don't know your IRS login or your TCC code, you can always use ours, we will submit it for you. Just let us know and we'll give it to you, unless you have it from last year, so we still kept our old one.
Way easier, right?
Just as maybe this will come under your tips and tricks, but for any new people, the earlier you could process your 1099, just good, just don't upload them to the IRS. You can still mail them out because sometimes there's errors that the person that's getting it finds that then you could fix and you don't have to run it through the corrected
Yes,
1099. So just a hint.
yes, that's a good hint, because corrections of anyways, done that, they're a pain, especially now when they're electronic. You can still do them paper, even if you do electronic and you screw up. I did learn that last year. All right, then I'm just gonna go through some basic tips and tricks into IFS. Some of you probably know them. Some are very beneficial, especially when you're entering vouchers, they give your speed to go a little faster. The first one is the backslash. This can be used in the disbursements, not the vendor file. You can put in part of the vendor number, part of the vendor name with that backslash, and it'll bring up all of those vendors with. I put center today, and it'll bring up like Center Point Energy, Center for Activities, or whatever, it'll bring that up in the disbursement inquiry or the receipts. The star key is a duplicate key. So say you're paying, again, Center Point Energy, and you're paying them 3 different amounts, you can hit that star key and it'll just keep repeating. Center Point Energy, same account number, same description. Just don't get too happy and do it on all of yours. The plus key is kind of like tab, it'll get you out of your screen. It'll move you between your amounts and your disbursements, the invoice number, it'll move you through there quicker, that way you don't have to use your mouse. And then, another way to not use your mouse is to enter your enter key, instead of moving your mouse down and hitting submit. And then in the account numbers, dashes don't need to be typed, a period can use, like an example, so you don't have to type in all those rows that you have. And then my own little thing I use all the time, I'll tab between 2 screens. I usually have the vendor file up, and then I have the disbursement inquiry, and I just alt tab between the 2 screens when I'm getting bills ready. I still use it a lot, just to toggle through every screen that you have open, you can use that. The next one is a message that we get quite a lot, people call and panic, I can't go on, I don't know what to do, what happened? You need to close your GL months and close them more frequently. It's an easy thing to forget though, because it's, you know, if you don't have it on your check, I never did it. But there's a good way you can check, you can go under your file maintenance tab and you can check which current month and year that you are on. IFS only allows 12 months open at a time, so right now if you're trying to do your warrants for December and you have a closed month in from December of 2023, it's not gonna let you move on. And so that's a good place to check. And then to change it, you can go to the miscellaneous tab. And it says to close your current GL month. And once you do that, you'll be able to move on. I would recommend that you or close these a little more often so it doesn't happen. You can close a whole bunch at a time. You can go back and open a month if you're really panicked and be like, I don't want to close March yet. There's a way to go back and open that month again if you need to make an entry in March. So don't be afraid to close your months. It's good practice. Also your year, once maybe you wanted to do it when your audit is done. You can close that year up too. It's also a great way to not get those people entering stuff in months that they're not supposed to. Like if you have human services or something, or some other department entering, it'll save them from entering something in the wrong month too. Because when you balance and also you don't anymore. Does anybody have any other questions or tips and tricks they want to share? Okay. I'll stop this thing.
PowerPoint.
No, I was wondering.
Who else? Doesn't matter.
Whoever wants to do it.
Just have to when I screw up. Yeah. Just throw something at me, you know.
Alrighty. Well, I'm Dominique Mueller. I didn't introduce myself earlier. I'm gonna go over cash drawer and capital asset. So first part, I'm gonna start with cash drawer, is cash drawer update. Are you doing the PowerPoint? Okay. Alright. Similar to IFS, you got the same report as IFS did have, or also is the user change and add report, mainly adding because of auditors wanting to see when someone's permissions have been changed. Cash drawer also has it. Of course, cash drawer doesn't have as much permissions as IFS does, of course, but there is one there. Of course, you can run it both ways, one for just adds, one for change, and of course, both together. Of course, this only works as of when you got the release, so if you're gonna look back all the way to January, nothing's gonna show up. So it's just as of the report moving forward, or as the new release going forward. It will track who has changed permissions and bring it into the report. So do keep that in mind if you're wondering when you actually get it. That file didn't exist before, no, it is now there. So do keep that in mind if anyone asks what changes. Next one is the quantity field. So now when you go inside a receipt, when you're normal entering it, who's for, how much the receipt's gonna be for, right under that will be a quantity field. It will automatically pre-fill at the one. Automatically one, which is quantity. So let's say down they're ordering multiple licenses or whatever permits that they're doing, you can change it instead of doing multiple same line each time they bought it. You can now just put a 2 or how many they're buying, and it will duplicate it. Now do keep in mind, it's gonna duplicate all the GLs that you have filled out. So if they're only buying 2 of something and then something else, you can double all of them. Not just one, because it's overall the whole receipts, not for the individual GL account. So do keep that in mind. I do have pictures. Look under the fee, you'll see quantity 1 pre-fill, like I said. And then once you have entered in your GL account on whatever they bought, you will see in the complete transaction, you'll see that there's now a quantity column. And you'll see that it calculates it all out. And does it for you, shows even on the receipt. It does put each line item for each, even if you entered in the GL once, it will show it many times and quantity number was entered. We will see that detail. Of course, this is for the detailed receipt, not the summary. That one. Another fix was done. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Can I ask about the quantity update? So when it transfers to IFS,
Yes.
does it, where in IFS does it say the quantity, or would it just change the amount? Would it just be like our passwords are $50, so then it would just transfer over to 100? Or I guess that's my question.
Very good question. It does come over as 2.
Okay,
2.
so like 2 line items?
Yeah, yeah, 2 line items. Because I, of course, would not have that quantity field. Just cash drawers, when it goes over, it's just the 2 lines, kind of like what you're seeing. Previous slide, the 2 lines, the detailed receipt. So. Good question. Yes, no, that does not go over. And then the next one was, oh yes, tabbing. I'm pretty sure as you are completing your receipt, you get to the second page where you're entering in who the payer is, how they paid. There's that section for the payer name, which can be expanded or unexpanded. They have now made it a little easier, so you don't have to put your hand on your mouse to click into it, click in those fields, and then click out of it. You now can tab and hit space bar to expand it, type and tap through it, and then space bar, close it up. Continue on, or if you don't hit spacebar, it'll tab right past it, not get stuck in those fields where the payee names are, and go straight to whatever your payment may be for the receipt. Just to make it easier for, I know a lot of you have some typing speed under your belt. I know you can type fast, you can just do it all And also, field exit as well, working with the tabbing when you're doing this. So now you don't have to lift your hand off the keyboard. We're good to go. For this section, at least, for if you're feeling discordant. Next is purging. Before, when you were purging, it was by department. Now it's by drawer. Now it's more controlled based on how you logged in. However, your default one, or if you changed your drawer, that is if you have multiple drawers. Of course, you now can do it by the drawer, not the department, to make it more similar to how you do reconciliation. It's gonna match across the board on how you do it. Now it will do by drawer, then you aren't getting missing any while you're doing it, depending on what drawer you are and what department you're in. Now it's just the whole drawer goes department. That's how you purge now. Once, of course, everything's reconciled, purge. Oh, you back on. Next, if you like this one, I'm pretty sure a lot of people will be happy. New document number label. Before, let's say someone wrote a checkout, you can check number on, you wrote their receipt. When you looked at the detail, it was just a floating number out the side and no description on what it is. It was just a number just floating there next to the totals. It now will say doc number and then whatever number it is, and then next to it, what actually it is. Is it a check number? Is it a credit card number or whatever you may be entering? And now the label itself, so you know what that floating number all by itself was. So you know down the line later, you're like, wow, that number, now this label, it looks better. All right, editing receipts. Before, if you created a receipt, you could not edit it. You couldn't edit the fee amount. Let's say you accidentally put $50, it should have been $45. Once you hit submit, couldn't edit it. Now you do have the ability to edit. Now this is before you reconcile and of course interface to IFS. So if it happens to reconcile, anyone with permission of administrator or senior lead can now edit a receipt's amount after it's been created. So they can go in there, they'll see that it's not all grayed out like it is usually. They can go in, edit it, it'll tell you that it's updated and you're good to go, it's fixed. Next is retain. Too quick on me. Retain and drawer. So this was usually controlled when you were doing reconciling. You would put how much you would like to retain in the drawer, and while you're reconciling, that's what I would remember, and then you have to remember to enter it in each time you reconcile. Now you can put a base reconcile amount or base drawer amount, sorry, in the drawer itself in the setup. Now it'll pre-fill that amount. Oh, this $250 is what is always in my drawer. It will always be that way. And you don't want someone to accidentally enter in something else, whatever it may be. It's going to pre-fill now once it's set up in the drawer settings. It will now, when you go to reconcile, it'll be grayed out and it'll show you whatever you have pre-entered here. Now, let's say something does happen. You have less in the drawer and you do need to change it. Yeah, you can go back to here and change it, but anyone who is an administrator can also change it if they are reconciling. If there's anyone else besides the administrator, it will be grayed out. As you can see here, I logged in as a non-administrator, it is grayed out. And it does have a little reminder next to it that only an administrator can change this. If for some reason you need it to change, you will have to get that permission or change it in the drawer setting. So that will make it easier, then you don't have to remember, it'll just pre-fill it and we're good to go. Any questions on the release? Like Julie said earlier, 2 of you don't have that release quite yet. Soon, we are working with your 2 counties. Besides you 2, how is everyone else? I know not everyone uses cash drawer. Any questions on the release? Yeah.
I have a question. So
Sure.
will we ever get an option to then, so in our county, we have multiple drawers. And sometimes someone enters it into the wrong drawer, and so to fix that correction, we have to void the original receipt and then re-enter it in the correct drawer. Will there ever be an update where we can then just change it instead of having to void the whole
Transfer to a
receipt?
different drawer,
Yes, without having to void the whole receipt, would that be in?
not that I'm aware of. That sounds like a good suggestion to have. I can see why you would want that.
Okay.
I would recommend you putting in a enhancement request through Tryman. I can give you that form and what to do to fill that out. But I haven't heard, but I have been going to the enhancement committee. I haven't heard that suggestion. That's a very good suggestion to add to it. But at the moment, no. Very good. Yep. Next, like I said, not all of you have cash drawer. Is anyone interested in joining a cash drawer? We can just set it up and just have you guys play with it for a while. It's usually what we did with the majority of you who have it currently. We let them play, add, try it, minus interface diet. Of course, don't want to miss on that side. Well, if you are interested but aren't quite sure, we can still set you one up after you're done playing around, creating receipts. We can purge it, start you from scratch or almost scratch, and get you started if you do decide to. Is anyone interested? I know there's a good majority of you that do have it. There's still a few of you though. And you, of course, you can always email me or we will set it up. Gotcha. So how's things going? Everything going well with the interface? I know a good, at least 8, 9 of you are now live with Cash Drawer and are not using cash register anymore. How's that going? Everything going well, Michelle?
I think it's going fine, yeah.
Okay, that's good. I know there's a few of you who use both still, mainly because of taxes. I know some of you use the miscellaneous receipts or use CCS. Oh, that reminds me. Reminded myself. CCS. I had some counties ask me, for those that use CCS, don't use it, of course, that is our county collection system. Cash register you can create receipts for CCS and we'll send it over to CCS. Of course, cash drawer does not do that. We are working, me and Mike, are working to see if we can get those ACS, which is Tryman's version of CCS, see if we can get it to work with CCS. At the moment, we don't have that. Of course, we did fix the bug with IFS, so ACS, so many acronyms. ACS is working with those fields for CCS. Because of this new release, if any of you are interested in using the ACS fields in IFS, do let us know before you do it. Because if you start using it, you will have no issues creating the receipts, but the moment you try to run any receipt journals, receipt ledgers, any of the receipt journals, they will error. They will error out big. So do let us know before you start using them, because they will not work. Because it'll error out, it goes and checks for your ACS program, and you of course do not have it unless, besides one of you, only one county who has that program. But we do have a workaround. We create a little part for you to make it work and get the reports working. So if you are interested and you do have CCS and aren't using those fields, I know there's a few of you that don't have availability is there for you. We're just hoping we can get Cash Drawer with it as well. So just let us know before you do it. All right. I just wanted to go over some tips and tricks of Cash Drawer. Because of the new release and how it purges and reconciles, I wanted to go over that on reconciling in Cash Drawer. So once you have all your receipts and everything looks good, no changes, and you wish to send it to IFS, first step you have to do is reconcile it. Receipt has to be reconciled before you can interface it to IFS.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, one question, what's the latest updated cash?
like the number, is that what you're asking?
You're asking what that means, but.
The newest release? The newest release should have just been applied minus for the 2 counties, Steele and Medina. If you're those 2 counties do not have it, I don't know the release number off the top of my head, it's a string of numbers. It should be starting with a 6, the 6.0 release, that's what you're asking me. Everyone should be updated with those 2 counts. Which seal, you are being done this weekend, so you should have, so on Monday, you will have the new release, and I will be emailing you all that release. Did that answer your question? Okay, okay. So I don't know that number, I know it's a string of numbers, the release numbers, I don't know it by heart. But if you don't see that, let us know, of course, unless you wrote the 2, but you will soon have it. Overrules, yes, like I said earlier, reconciling, you can now reconcile, or you do reconcile by drawer. That's why purging got changed, so it matches what you reconciled when you purge it. It now matches it because it was by department. It made it a little confusing on how you're purging it based on your reconciling. So now you go in, of course, make sure to check recording on your screen, although when you log in, usually it'll pre-select the drawer you have set up in your user maintenance, what your main drawer is, but of course, as you log in, that is if you have more than 1 drawer, not all of you do. You can choose a different drawer when you log in. You can always tell what drawer you have in the top right corner before you start reconciling. That is where you will look, and that will automatically default based on your login.
The current version is 6.0.35.471.
Yeah, so it starts with the 6.0, that is the newest release. I do remember the first 2 numbers, 6.0 is the newest release for IFS and cash drawer. So that is the newest release. Okay. You switch slides. If you need to change a drawer, you can easily change the drawer right underneath the reconcile option. If you change drawer, this is where you can see, and also change the department all in the same section. You can just choose your drawer and submit. You'll see that it'll update the top right corner, and you are now reconciled, or now in a new drawer to reconcile or switch to a new drawer to enter in receipts. Once you've hit submit, you're in the correct drawer and everything looks good, and you select the date in which you wish to reconcile by, you can now reconcile based off all that you have entered for that date you have entered. Now you can start balancing based on all amounts, checks, and of course, anything under the other column, which would be credit cards, EFTs, etc. You will now balance, of course. For this example, you will see that the retain in drawer is not grayed out. I am logged in as administrator, so you do not see that little warning off to the side saying, hey, only administrators can change it, so that's why that is not there. It's only visible to any of those that are not administrator. So now you will go through and make sure you balance between your reconciles to your actual, and hopefully everything is 0 for your good door. Actually, it has to be all 0 or you will not be able to hit submit, so keep that in mind. And then once they reconcile, you can or should get a reconciled report. Now, let's say at a pop blocker, or you got the report and then cleared your downloads folder, whatever it may be, you don't have that deposit ticket report anymore. If you do not have it, do not worry, you can get it again if you want. We have it. You can go to the reports tab. Right. Yep. The reports tab, and you'll see the option deposit ticket. This is where you can download any deposit ticket report that was created based on the reconciliation. You just have to go into the drop down and choose what drawer you want to look at, and then choose which reconciliation time that was done, and you can re-get your report. So if you ever want to look back, hey, this is when I reconciled and have that report, you can easily come here, re-download it, and have it for your record. Now that you've reconciled, it's time to send it to IFS. So now you go to interface the IFS. You'll choose what drawer in the date range in which you want to send paper. based off sending over to IFS, it is based off your reconcile date. So do keep in mind, when you're reconciling, that is how you send it over to IFS, it's not based on receipt, it's based on that date specific. That's why you'll see here, when you're in the interface to IFS area, everything will be categorized based off reconciliation dates. Keep that in mind and write down, or of course, keep your deposit ticket report on when that was done. That is how you can send it over. Once you've selected the one you want to send over, you'll hit submit at the bottom. Make sure you enter in the IFS user's name. Usually it remembers it, so you should be good to go, but if not, you should enter that in and then it will interface over to IFS. Now, let's say something went wrong, either it aired out or someone in IFS deleted it. What do? Well, first, if it airs out, first you can contact me. Usually, if it's on the cash register side, cash drawer side, you will get an error message on the top. Usually it's self-explaining what's wrong or what it doesn't like, and it'll let you know. Of course, you can always contact me. Now, let's say it aired because IFS didn't receive it, but cash drawer said, oh, all is good. So the next thing would be check with the person who's supposed to get the batch in cash or in IFS. They should receive a IFS interface receipt error Excel. And that should tell you what is wrong. Of course, if you can't find it, or I think for some of you, it goes to a dummy account, not a real person, until it gets transferred to who it belongs to. You can contact me and I can get to their inbox, get that report for you. To find out what is going on. Now, for the situation, let's say you deleted it. You do have the ability to resend this as many times as you want. It does say at the end when you send it to IFS last, but you can always send it as many times as you want until you print it out. So if anything down the road, if it gets deleted or you would like to send it again, the possibility is there. Like I said earlier, only administrators can edit receipts, but once it's reconciled, you cannot edit it. So do keep that in mind before you reconcile, is make sure everything looks good, run your reports before you reconcile. You cannot edit it once it is done. Any comments or questions about cash drawer? Any issues or anything you want to bring up or bounce off others? I do have commonly asked question document that I can send out to you guys. I'm of course always adding to it as questions come in that are different, not usual. I do have it in there, so I can always send that to you guys afterwards if you got questions. Everything working good with cash drawer? Okay. For those that don't want cash drawer, do let me know. And if I learn how to, or me and Mike learn how to, maybe Mike, figure out how to get the ACS fields working, we will of course inform all of you. So if you wish to start using that, you can for cash drawer. All right, capital asset. Our capital asset program, I know this is not a program you're in as today, not one you're entering in, bills like you do for
Treasurer's office is Carolyn.
there. When you buy new piece of equipment, or
Yeah.
articles, you go in there and be audited, you gotta enter in everything. So I thought I'd go over a brief overview of how
Yeah.
our capital asset works and start from there. Oh, yes, I have to ask. Last time, we gave you all a new report generator for capital assets. I was wondering that new release that changed a few things. Wondering how everything is going. I know you don't, of course, go to capital asset often. This is just your asset system, but I was curious if anyone has any troubles with their reports or how things are going. I know that was a big release that did cause some issues. Some changes. Of course, if you run into issues with reports, or if you want a new report, you can just contact me and I'll gladly create a report for you. I know that is a lot of people to create a new report. Also for the photo upload option, that was the new fix that we did for the last release as well. I know a few of you did contact me on getting that set up, because we do have to set up a little area on where the photos need to be saved on your server. And then once that's done, your county is able to upload photos to each individual asset. First, you want to upload one, but that option is still there. But you have to make sure you let us know, or of course that option will not work, because it has nowhere to save the image. Anyone interested in that, or? You are interested?
Yeah, I've been asking for
What county are you from?
Stevens.
Stevens, okay. I thought we set yours up. I swore we
Yeah,
did.
I
I will
do.
double check, Stevens. Stevens County, I know we set it up for Travers, in another county. I will double check on that.
Okay.
I will make sure that server, that photo area is set up, good to go. All right, now we'll start on capital assets. All right, I thought I'd start from the absolute basics on how assets get into capital assets. So one of the main ways assets get into capital assets is from IFS. So how that is done is based off the GL account that is being used in your warrants. In the chart of accounts, they have a little check box near the bottom called fixed asset. If that box is checked, and that GL is used, regardless if it's a negative number or a positive number, it will send those records to capital assets. This is marked as a fixed asset GL account. So if you use it, it's gonna send it over. So you keep that in mind. So you don't have to report double entry, which is the one thing we're trying to minimize on always. You want to go to cap assets, double check your GLs, or if you've created new GLs, if it's for those assets or for big asset purchases, make sure it's checked, and then it'll automatically go over to our capital asset system. All right, let's say, all right, this is my example. I bought a garbage truck. Garbage truck is my example. This is the GL account we were just looking at. So visually, of course, you can't tell when you're entering in vouchers if it is a fixed asset GL or not. I would recommend downloading the chart of accounts, the new download. It does have a column for yes, no for fixed assets, a quick glance if you ever want to go through and see which ones are checked and which ones aren't. That would be the best way to visually see. But once you use it, you go through the whole process, checks are done, batches processed, that is when it can get sent over. Now, before it goes over to cap assets, you process it, it only sends over to cap assets once a day. Do keep that in mind. If you're buying that piece of equipment at 8 AM, not get there until tomorrow, 8 AM. Well, not exactly. Each county has a slightly different time, depending on your saves for your server. So it could be 6 o'clock at night to 3 o'clock in the morning the next day on when it's pushing it, but should be the next day, it should be there. So do keep that in mind when you're like, that asset there. Wait, the next day it should be there. Now, if you're doing a lot of purchases and you're like, oh, why I would like it to show up right away, just let me know. Have mine push it. We can force it to do one manually and they'll show up there. Just keep that in mind. Now, let's say it's the next day and it is showing up. This is how you know if an asset from IFS has appeared. You'll see nice bold red letter top of the newly purchased assets exist. Now, assets don't automatically get added to capital assets because, like I said, you can have negative amounts, fixes, voids, etc. They get sent over as well, so you don't want to automatically add it. So we have nice bold letters and we have a button at the bottom where it says newly purchased. This is where you get to review them. This is where you get to review them. So you get a little pop-up. These are all GLs, or the GLs that are marked as fixed asset, were used in IFS. And then it could be voids, it's small stuff, doesn't matter. Now it's up to you to decide, okay, is this something we wish to track in our capital asset program? So you'll have to go through and see, oh, negatives, delete, just delete them out, no biggie, don't need them in there, just fixes, or you have stuff that's under a certain amount, and you're like, no, I don't wanna track that, just delete it. Then it'll get removed from this pop-up. But let's say, for this example, my garbage truck, I wish to add it. So you'll see, right here, I have highlighted or underlined in my garbage truck, I wish to add it in, so I will click on my asset. And once you do, you'll see a little pop-up. Asking you two options. Is this a new asset or is this a capital improvement? For this example, first, garbage truck, that is a new asset. Let's say you were adding a new blade to a plow truck. That would be an improvement. You're improving the vehicle you already own. That would be an improvement. Then you would choose the drop down, choose the asset you should add it to. And then go through that process, which I will go through after the asset process of adding. So for my example, I'm gonna go through and add an asset.
You come down here.
Asset button. There we go. So here it is. This is adding a new asset. So it will pre-fill everything that is entering manifest. So it's gonna be when you bought it, how much is it, the warrant number, the description, or technically whatever's in your description, which might not be everything you want in there. First, it is now editable. For this example, I just wrote rear loading garbage trucks, that one is fine. Now you can start adding in the rest of the information you need. Now, based off how I have it set up for my capital asset, which majority of you do have it this way, so I think there's a few outliers out there that have a little different. The first field, your asset number, I have it so it just grabs the next one in line. We have a starting asset number, you put the star or the asterisk in the field, and it pre-fills it to the next one in line. Some of you like to enter it in, and you have to hand enter in whichever asset number you'd like to be. Continue on. At this moment, you have to have all the fields that have an asterisk on them to be able to continue. So do keep that in mind. You can always come back later and add more information. Have it, of course. If you want to put, serial number, tag, location, more of a description, etc. But you do have to make sure those are all filled in. Now there is one more field you have to enter that isn't marked as mandatory. This one only shows up based off the asset type you have entered. And that is because your asset type determines if the asset will depreciate or not. That's why it's not always marked. So, next page. Once you have your asset type entered and it is a depreciative asset, this box down here, estimated life, will error out if you hit submit without filling it in, because of course, this is a depreciative asset, it must have it, we cannot calculate it, does not have an estimated life. So you do need to know that information if it's going to depreciate to be able to continue. So do keep that in mind. Any questions on adding a new asset? Something was pretty self-explanatory. Of course, you always can go back and edit the non-important or not all the fields that are important, the non-mandatory fields later, if so you don't have that information ready. Now let's go through adding improvements for my example. The blade on a truck, or still blade. I'm going to do an example of adding a camera to a car, like to a sheriff's vehicle. That is my example. So I bought it, I selected it, and I chose my improvement to my asset, which was a car. Alright, so this is how it's gonna look. So it's very similar to an asset, of course, a lot less fields because it is not the same asset. You still have the usual pre-filled data, like the amount, word number, who you bought it from, cost, etc. Now you will see that there's no asset number because it is being applied to a new asset, and automatically, where you cannot see in the background, it gets labeled with a 1 if it's the first asset, 2, 7 as assets get added, so they don't get their own asset number. They're kind of already attached to the 1, so it does not need. Now, just like the others, you have to make sure you fill in all the mandatory fields. Now, for if it depreciates or not, it determines that based off the main asset you just attached it to. So your asset type. So if your asset depreciates, improvement is going to depreciate. So for this example, it's attached to a vehicle, most likely depreciating. This one will depreciate with it. So you will have to make sure you enter in a estimated life. Just like assets, once you've entered in the mandatory fields, you always can come back later and enter in more information for when you get it or have it. Also, the depreciation start date does not pre-fill, unlike the asset does. Because it's slightly different than an asset for improvement. Some people like it to have the date when you buy it, like for example, February. But some people want it slightly different. Usually the situation is when you actually received it. Sometimes you bought it in February, but you didn't get it until May or April. So we always do that link that field does not pre-fill on like the other one does in the app. Do keep that in mind, which of course it will turn a nice colored yellow if you missed it or entered it you did not like it. Once you've hit submit, you will see in the asset main page, which is earlier, at the bottom, this nice bold red letters saying improvement does exist at a glance when you go inside an asset. Hey, there's more additional to this equipment. If you're ever wondering why your total depreciation or cumulative depreciation looks a little different, it's because it's including your improvement to it as well. Do keep that in mind. Now, those main options went from IFS into capital asset is the main way to add an asset into capital asset. Now, that's not the only way. If you have an asset that was bought and in IFS and it wasn't the GL account that was marked fixed asset, that means you have to hand enter it into IFS from scratch. Nothing's gonna be pre-filled, nothing's gonna be anything like that. So do keep that in mind. We do have an add button on the asset page where you can enter in all the asset information. Just like you would usually, except nothing is gonna be pre-filled. So do keep that in mind. We do have the ability to add more or add old ones, say something got missed. Those can go backdate assets too. Just keep that in mind if you are backdating. Keep in mind you were audited those years. So if they've been audited, you add an asset that was bought. Make sure your auditor is okay with that. So do keep that in mind if you ever have to do that. Now, if you do that here, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm in the next slide. I am going to mention. Oh, you backed up. Editing existing asset with current conversion. So let's say in 2024, I'm adding a new asset that you bought in 2024. It's gonna look exactly the same like when you were going to the add button. You'll see all the fields are unfogged, nothing's blocked out except of course the asset number. Once you apply it, that is your asset number. This is what it's gonna look like. Nothing's gonna be restricted to you. You can enter in as normal, change anything, etc. This is how it'll look. Now, let's say you are trying to add an asset that is for the previous year. There's going to be a few changes. Some things are going to be fogged out. You'll see you can't change the fund, you can't change the purchase date, the amount, or anything like that. So if you have to add an asset that is for a non-current year, you have to make sure you enter in all the information correctly the first time. Because once you hit submit, any of those fogged fields will be fogged out and cannot be changed. Now, if you have to get those changed, if an auditor says, hey, you entered this wrong, or this shouldn't be here, or you entered the wrong amount, it happens. You're gonna have to contact us because you, as you can see here, will not be able to edit that out. The main reason these fields are grayed out is if the asset is depreciating. If you already depreciated based on the amount, the date, life, all in your first short depreciation date. That's already been calculated, it's already ran and created those depreciation amounts. So if you change that, that'll change what you may already be audited on. So that's why we grade them out, so you don't change something on accident. Or on purpose, I suppose, if you do need to, we don't want you to change something you've been audited already. So usually if you ask us to change something, we'll always make sure, hey, have you been audited on it? If you haven't, we'll change it right away. Usually if you've been audited on it, we always want you to make sure your auditor knows you're changing it. Don't want to cause you any trouble the next time you get audited going, hey, A and B don't match when you're trying to run your reports again, when something's changed that wasn't there before. So always keep that in mind. Yeah, if situations like that come up. Any questions on capital assets? I just did a brief overview of capital assets because this first program is not something you're in every day. I'm gonna assume you don't buy equipment every single day either, so you're not in there every day. But of course, if you have any questions, issues.
I have another question,
No,
sorry.
okay.
Will your instructions this year include work in progress? We had a project that we had to do like a work in progress type field, and then now it has to get changed to like a real capital asset, right? Because isn't there a type code?
Well, each type code is determined by each county.
Okay,
So you call it in progress, someone else might be calling it something else.
okay,
So you guys control the name of your asset and what it does, so. I don't have instructions
okay.
called that, but I know a lot of you have assets like that. So you're asking how to transfer, correct?
Yes,
Okay, no problem. There is a transfer button. If you go inside the asset, you're like, hey, I do not want it in this fund or this department or asset type. You do have the ability to transfer. So you'll see a button at the bottom of your screen of your asset called transfer. You click on that, little pop-up screen is gonna ask you, hey, what asset type or what fund, whatever, which one you want to charge. And it's gonna say, hey, you'll choose the one you want. And then hit spin. Now there is one restriction for the asset types. If you're changing it from a non-appreciative to a non-appreciative or an appreciative to appreciative asset type, you have no issues. Only when you're doing it the other way, two opposites. If you depreciate and you're switching to a non-appreciative, you're not gonna be able to do that. But if it's non-appreciative to appreciative, it should do an accelerated, you'll get another pop-up, but accelerated depreciation, so you can catch up for all the years, and then it'll let you through. So, if you do need it to depreciate, or, yeah, you need it to depreciate and not depreciate anymore, you'll have to contact us, because we'll have to manually delete your depreciation from that asset, if it's never meant to depreciate. So do keep that in mind, and that does happen just fine. We'll help you in the background, edit that up for you, but that is never meant to. So, yes, I do have that written up in the manual as well. I can resend that all out. Do I have your email? If not, you can give it to me.
I have it.
Okay, good. Do I have yours though?
Mhm.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, then I will resend out the manuals for IFS, cash store, and capital assets in my year or after email, after meeting email. So, but of course, you can always email me with questions. That's what I'm here for. Call me, email me. Same with Julie. Don't get bothered her too. Any questions on capital assets? Cash drawer, IFS, all the above. Any questions on cash register? I guess we haven't really touched base with cash register since we switched to cash drawer. My goodness, those names are very similar. Not that much has changed in cash register, nothing at all, I believe. Well, then I think that is it for you, unless you guys got any questions or anything you want to go over. I can easily go over the transfer with you if you'd like.
So I'm assuming, like, she's talking about work in progress in 1 year,
Yep,
and it carries over into the next year.
Yeah.
You can't really do that if you post that years out.
are you asking if you can transfer something after the year is closed?
Correct.
Yes, you can. Yep. Yep, it just cuts it off. Wait, because you close that year, it's done year-end calculations. So once you transfer it, once the new year happens, then you should be fine. Yeah, we allow you to transfer in between years or in a year, doesn't matter. Unless you're switching from non-appreciative to appreciative, then yes, you'll have issues.
No, we've got some stuff going on with protocols that's
Taking a while,
several years. Yeah.
several years. Yes, that's normal, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have questions on in progress, yeah, you can just let us know and see how you want to deal with that. Any other questions? Anything you would like, oh, yes, Michelle.
Did the reporting get fixed for the improvements? Remember you and I had that discussion last year, when the improvement wasn't showing up on the old report. I think
Fresh
you
from memory?
created something special for me, but, I had an improvement on one of the trucks or something where we had overhauled it or something.
Right.
And then when I ran my listing,
Do you remember which listing? By chance? Okay.
the main asset listing,
Oh, was it the main asset listing?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I do remember
improvement
this
wasn't-
one.
the improvement wasn't showing up, so we had to run it a different way to make sure the
Yes.
improvement showed up.
Yes, because. Yeah, okay, so her issue is why the improvement wasn't showing on her main asset listing report. If I remember correctly, I might have to refresh my memory and go look at that ticket. Some of our reports have filters in them. And one of the main filters we have on the asset listing reports is depreciation greater than 0? And your asset didn't have depreciation, if I remember correctly. So we had to remove that filter to get that improvement to show up. If I remember correctly. I think-
Appreciated. My truck was already.
Oh, it's fully depreciated. Oh,
Vague.
that
I
was.
don't remember the.
Either it didn't have any or it was fully depreciated, so it wasn't pulling it. If I remember correctly, always look at the filters. Because of course we have those for you, but of course you do have the ability to create your own to get an asset report. But that's most likely, I believe, what was the issue is for that one. I will have to double check. But I believe I created you a new report. Oh yeah, I am very good at report generators, so if you have issues with it, just let me know. I'm glad to create your reports. Or edit your reports if you try to, or create your own. Yes?
I know last year I talked about with 1099s
Oh,
that
yeah.
the code is not coming over from cost right.
Yeah, that is working.
That is working out.
Now. So that is, okay, so she was asking about the 1099 code coming back over from cost, right? So yes, that code, as long as you apply it to the record, if it's only in the maintenance, in the vendor file, and it isn't put on the record itself in cost, right? It won't interface, it does not grab it from maintenance.
Okay.
So, but it will send it over if it's in the cost rate record, it will interface to IFS, and you will see it on the record for it not being changed, of course.
Okay.
Might be something that cost rate users to really realize.
Yes, yes, I do remember sending out an email last year to them, but yes, that'd be a good reminder for cost rate users. That 1099 code does go over. They just gotta make sure for the IFS user. If they don't have the correct code, it does arrow on their side, so they just gotta keep that in mind. Now, because of the new restrictions for the 1099 codes. It not matching the vendor file will give a yellow warning. Which won't stop it, but still. Continue on. That's a very good question. Any questions on 1099s? I guess I know it's a little early, but for some of you are doing it within the second week of January. Also, you did see on Julie's slide on when it's down for maintenance. So do keep that in mind when you're gonna start doing your 1099, you're ready to submit. Doesn't come up until, I think it was the 12th of January. So if you're an early bird for your 1099, won't be until after the 12th. As early as you can be. It is down as of December. Your PowerPoint somewhere. December. Oh, never mind. November. It's already down currently. It's down for the whole month of December, so November 22nd, all the way to January 13th. So if you're going, if you want to submit before then, you can ask, unless of course you're mailing it in. So. The 14th is the earliest submission for 1099s for the IRS, for online at least. So do keep that in mind. But if you have no more questions, no one online, Mike? All right. That is all I have for you, unless you guys got some. If so, thank you so much for coming. Don't forget to take an ice scraper on your way out. I know the weather is, it is what it is. More snow and wind. All right, thank you so much.
I got a lot of issues.